quick stuff now, the final points at the end. New Kingsguard. Someone noticed this actor dressed as a Kingsguard, and they think it's actor Vincent Regan. Maybe. That brings up a bigger question. Remember at the end of Season 1, the Kingsguard split in half between Aegon and Rhaenyra, and it's slightly different from what the books did. And there would be repercussions from that. Whipping out my notes here, let me put the card up. In the books, the Kingsguard under Viserys were Criston Cole, the Cargill twins, Steffan Darklyn, Laurent Marbrand. All of those are on TV, and they have speaking roles. Game of Thrones would treat the Kingsguard as background character, like they'd mention Preston Greenfield and then not keep track of, like they'd think he was dead, then they'd mention him as alive in another episode. They didn't keep track of that. There were two that they didn't mention who were Kingsguard in the book. Rickard Thorne and Willis Fell. Both of them are reasonably important characters. Well, they do things that are important. And both of them side with Aegon II, so they're still in King's Landing. The TV show kept Harold Westerling alive. In the books, he dies in the time skip. He dies in the middle of Viserys' reign. So, Criston Cole becomes commander of the Kingsguard normally. Not just because he's the commander of Aegon's Kingsguard. He was commander in the late part of Viserys' reign. And it's the musical chairs thing that, well, if you keep Harold alive, that's 8 guys. But so in the TV show, by the end, it's Criston, Eric, Steffan, and Laurent is 5. And plus Harold is 6. It's really not that big of a problem, because Season 2 will have to establish either Rickard or Willis was the 7th guy. And then they'll just, they'll say Rickard Thorne was the 7th... No, Willis Fell makes more thematic sense. Willis Fell was the 7th guy, and oh look, we just promoted up Rickard Thorne as a replacement. That we lost half the Kingsguard. I think that's what they're doing, or could be doing. That's what I would do. Big question is, what the hell are they intending to do with Harold? That they cast a major actor, Graham McTavish, in this role, and then he just sort of leaves at the end of Season 1, and you get the impression he's headed to join Rhaenyra. What if they're doing something weird? That keeps me up at night. What if they're doing something weird? I don't know. But in the books, at least, Aegon and Rhaenyra actually don't crew up to get a full 7 guys for a while. That Aegon is in the books is left with Criston Cole, Aric Cargill, Rickard Thorne, Willis Fell. That's 4 guys. We never see him naming a full 7 guys to the Kingsguard. Throughout the whole thing, just going through the wiki lists, there are 2 more guys who are on his side. Giles Belgrave, who's mentioned in passing, and he must have been promoted up later. And Marston Waters. Marston Waters is an important recurring character. We don't even know what noble house he was from. He has a bastard named Waters. And he lives through and is an important character in the Regency era. One of that trio of actors could be Marston Waters. For that matter, Marston Waters is from Driftmark, of all places, even though he's a Green supporter. It is possible that Marston Waters is a Valyrian bastard, which would explain why he's black. Though he doesn't have silver hair, but he's a bastard, so whatever. The mix of genetics in there, that guy might be Marston Waters, for all we know. That's actually growing in my mind. Of why is that guy just a nobleman hanging out at court? He hasn't been named to the Kingsguard yet. We don't know. But he didn't just immediately go, wow, we only have 4 guys. Let's immediately promote up another 3, and Fire and Blood clearly listing it. They didn't do that. As for Rhaenyra's side, in the books, she had initially Steffan Darklyn, Aric Cargill, and Laurent Marbrand. Aric and Laurent were already on Dragonstone. Steffan is the one who stole Viserys' crown and snuck out of King's Landing with it. They swapped places for him with Aric Cargill in the TV show, which they kind of want to build him up prominently because of what he's going to do in Season 2. And that's probably a good idea. But either way, they are speaking roles. You see them in episode 10. She has Stefan, Eric, and Laurent. There's 4 other spots, and just doing a close reading again, she never filled them again for a while. That after, well, Stefan, minor spoilers, Stefan gets killed by one of the wild dragons running amok when they're trying to claim new dragon riders. So he gets killed early on, and my suspicion is, because he's going to get, like, chronologically killed off mid-season 2, that then they'll have Harold Westerling show up on Dragonstone again to replace him. That could be what they're doing. It's what I hope they're doing. Or after Eric gets in his duel and they need another replacement, I think they're just having Harold... are they going to have Harold just be sneaking around King's Landing? Is he going to go to his niece in the Westerlands, who's the wife of the Lannister Lord? I think it's just we're going to see him on Dragonstone next season, but we don't know. But later on, after Rhaenyra's victories, after Stefan and Eric are gone, there is a point in Fire and Blood where she tells Laurent Marbrand, find 6 more knights to appoint to make a full Queensguard, because I haven't crewed up again for a while. It's been over a year. And just rattling these names off, through various chapters after that, they mention other guys who were later members of Rhaenyra's Queensguard were Glendon Good, Lionel Bentley, Harold Dark, Adrian Redford, Loreth Lansdale. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more guys plus 6. None of those other guys are really major speaking roles. Like, they could appear of, oh, that's that Kingsguard who was attacked in that thing there. They're not major roles. They could plausibly not have speaking lines. Like, we would know who they are because, oh, it's that guy that got killed in that fight scene. But they're not going to be speaking roles the way Eric Cargill is, or even Willis Fell or something. So we have this one spy photo of a guy dressed in Kingsguard armor who we don't recognize. Some of these are stunt doubles, particularly when they have helmets. They often have stunt doubles, and they don't bother assigning them a name for the Kingsguard. We saw that in Game of Thrones, where it was just process of elimination. That must be Boros or something, Boros Blount, because everything got condensed into Meryn Trant, you know? But is there going to be a scene where this more elderly man, they go, oh, this is Willis Fell? Because he's even a character in the Regency era after this. That would be important. But not much to know from this picture other than there's another Kingsguard and it's not a stuntman. Someone realized, no, this is like a professional actor. That you don't cast, like, they wouldn't cast a known actor to play TV Boros Blount who had no speaking lines in Game of Thrones. That if they cast a real actor to play it, it's probably going to be a speaking role, is the logic we're going with here. But be on the lookout for that there's both sides need to restore their Queens and Kingsguard to full numbers because they got split in half. So there's going to be a point where they go, oh, here's Willis Fell and here's the new guy, Rickard Thorne. Or Rhaenyra will have to crew up other guys in rapid succession. We'll see how that works. But shenanigans with the Kingsguard, that's more of a heads up than I don't really know what's going on. But this leads into the 5th point of the video. Again, I know I'm 40 minutes into this, but it wasn't worth busting up into a series of 5 videos, 8 minutes each, that no one would really click on because they don't know who Willis Fell is. I might as well do one big catch-up video. Point 5. We've been talking about Kieran Boo, that major prominent actor. He's done a Beowulf thing. He's a very tall, large man. And we were thinking he'd play one of the Kingsguard. Maybe. Now I'm pretty sure he's Luther Largent. That we knew he was on our radar before. There were Instagram posts of him in Caceres. So Kieran Boo was filming scenes in King's Landing. That at first I thought he was one of Rhaenyra's other supporters in the Riverlands. No, that he must be a King's Landing character. Odds are that he's Luther Largent, the new commander of the City Watch. Well, not new in the storyverse. He's been doing it for a couple of years. Like Daemon's been gone for a couple of years, but he's one of those guys who's been there for 20 years. He was there since the time of Daemon. Daemon wasn't just a commander of the Gold Cloaks. He invented the Gold Cloaks. Before that, they were nothing. They were just hired goons with mismatched armor that he said we're going to have a actual police service as an institution with uniform equipment and armor, and it'll be like a small army, and trained and equipped, and they can wear their gold cloaks with pride, that he gave them the gold cloaks as their uniforms. And there's this whole thing that the Greens are, they mentioned that in the season 1 finale, that the Greens are wary that they know a lot of the gold cloaks are still loyal to Daemon, because Daemon gave us these gold cloaks. So combined with that he's this really large, intimidating actor who is filming in Caceres, odds are he is playing Luther Largent, who, not the biggest role, he has some really cool moments that will be memorable, as he's the commander of the City Watch. So he could be some other guy entirely in their army, don't get me wrong, but odds are he's Luther Largent. Now we get to point 6 here, which is just random odds and ends, that this doesn't really fit anywhere. Actually, just 3 things that, along with the trio behind the thing, same scene, same set of leaks, we found out that actor Scroobius Pip. That sounds like a Harry... You know how when you, as an American, when we make up pseudo-Harry Potter-sounding names as a joke, only to find out that that was a real British person's name? Scroobius Pip. I mean, I remember winteriscoming.net was doing this live, one of their live videos going over the news, and the reaction of Dan Selke to, and this guy is named Luke Tittenzor, and he went, well, that's the character's name, what's the actor's name? Because that's like a Harry Potter named Luke Tittenzor. And he went, no, his name is Luke Tittenzor, he's playing the Cargill twins. So it's Scroobius Pip. But Scroobius Pip is playing the town crier during the Melis scene, during the funeral for Jaehaerys. Next to the drummer, he's shouting, behold the work of Rhaenyra the Cruel. I mean, there's actual video clips of this that we see. He's got the long beard, so okay, he's the town crier, we identified him. And the weird thing is, there is this woman who appears, an older, not teenager, but 30-ish woman, who we figured out is played by actress Elora Torchia. And she appears to be a South Asian descent or something. That I don't think this is Nettles, because Nettles isn't in King's Landing. I think that she's another name that we know this actress has joined the cast. This isn't speculation. Elora Torchia is a cast member who is filming in King's Landing. But given that King's Landing is a port city and it's diverse, maybe she's like the tavern operator of the Rooster Inn or something, which I mentioned in another video. You just merchants and townspeople of King's Landing? Maybe. So maybe she's at the Rooster Inn. But we know she's joined the cast. Absolute last point, and this just happened. Through Spotlight Casting Organization, we found out 3 actors who have joined. John Paul Hurley, Antonio Magro, and Jamie Kenna. One of them we managed to find out the name for leaked out. That John Paul Hurley is playing Lord Darry. There's a lot of Lord Darrys in the Dance of the Dragons. It's sort of like, in South Park terms, they're the Kenny. That pretty much every major battle in the Riverlands, the head of House Darry gets killed. And gets succeeded by his son, or maybe a younger brother or a cousin, but there's a couple of Lord Darrys they go through. And the first one doesn't even get a name, he's just Lord Darry. I mean, in fan wikis and stuff, he's just Lord Darry, he doesn't have a first name. Gets succeeded by another one who gets killed, and they have another one. I'm excited for that, though, because House Darry heraldry is one of the few that hasn't appeared in live action yet. Like I was excited in another video, oh cool, it's like live action House Rosby heraldry. We haven't had that before. Or like, for private reasons of just my own fanfic stuff, I really like House Caswell in The Reach, The Lords of Bitterbridge. because they're like that part of France in real life, and I like that. So their sigil is like a centaur with a bow, and we didn't see that in season 1. We had Lord Caswell, but he didn't have a sigil on him. I'm looking forward in season 2 to seeing the heraldry for the other Reach houses, like the Rowans, for example. We only got live action heraldry for in season 1 with the tree and everything. So we'll get Darry heraldry for the first time, but just because they have a Lord Darry doesn't necessarily mean it's a major role. I mean, it would be like a spear carrier. It wouldn't be a major characterized person. He doesn't have a first name. But it stands to reason if we found out about these 3 actors at the same time, maybe Antonio Magro and Jamie Kenna are other more important River Lords. Like, what if Jamie Kenna is Lord Blackwood? The Blackwoods are major characters in this. So, I mean, not that one personally. He's the father of the main Blackwood character, but the Ben Blackwood. But that might be what they're going with in this. We're not really sure. So keep an eye on these actors. They appear to be River Lords. On that note, this concludes every shred of information we got out of on-the-ground filming spy reports from Caceres. There could be other casting reports after this in coming weeks, tomorrow even. Those would come from website leaks, from resume leaks, not from spy photos as such. But the process is ongoing, and we're still sorting through it, and that's a big question of, they said Daeron the Daring is in Season 2. Are they just going to have him off on the Daeron show in Old Town? Are they going to try to link him with flashbacks? How exactly are they going to go about doing that? We're not really sure. I'm still upset that, like, this is King's Landing filming, so I wouldn't be surprised that we haven't seen the Rhaenyra battle heraldry yet. That I said that each side uses their personal heraldry as their battle flag. So the Greens start carrying Aegon's sigil of a gold dragon. The Rhaenyra side carries her quartered heraldry, quartered with an Arryn and a Velaryon. I imagine we'll see quite a few of those at the battle set in North Wales. I mean, obviously, when you get to a battle with 2 sides, we'll be seeing those there. That once I have been using the Rhaenyra heraldry as my channel logo since 2017 when I launched this, okay? Back me up on this in the comments if you remember that at the time I said it was the break between Season 6 and 7, and I said it was early 2017, and I said right then, I can tell Game of Thrones is going to end in disaster. These weren't minor mistakes, Season 5 and 6 were crunch. There are major behind-the-scenes problems they were hiding from us. This is already a disaster. It is getting worse. We can't keep making excuses. We have to declare that this show is already a total loss. It's not going to get better and salvage itself. On the scale of a franchise, just looking ahead for years, I said the hope is have a good prequel to rebuild the franchise. The franchise is already doomed. And this is right after Season 6 where people said, no, things are great again. They're not. I said, we have to start gearing up for and laying the groundwork for a good prequel to rebuild the franchise after it inevitably fails, to eventually get a remake. And I said, well, the best candidate for a prequel is The Dance of the Dragons. And obviously I was Team Rhaenyra from reading it. So, like, if you remember, like, spring of 2017, I popped up here, and I was saying, I'm Team Rhaenyra. We have to gear up to lay the groundwork for the coming of Rhaenyra. And people were like, who the hell is Rhaenyra? But my channel art was, and still is, the Rhaenyra War Heraldry. So I can't wait for when we actually see the quartered heraldry of Rhaenyra in spy photos. That'll be great. So, obviously I'm behind schedule. I've had problems with the YouTube copyright strikes are hitting me. I have to sort that out. But I'm going to immediately launch into... this is a thing that I got delayed of when there was a month ago. Condal was talking about how many seasons they were going to run, and that came up again in the recent interview with Francesca Orsi. So it updated, so I'm going to switch immediately back into the question of how many seasons does this run, what are the natural endpoints, and what exactly are the subplots that are going to be in Season 2. I mean, so far from Caceres filming, all they've really done is Rook's Rest and Blood and Cheese. We knew those had to be in Season 2. the things involving Aegon, for example. Other questions are like, well, how much are the Reach and Riverland subplots in it? What plots they might cut out, we're not as sure about. We'll see on that point. So I'm going to shift gears, go back to do that, then go do... I recorded a bunch of videos about Dunk and Egg and the Targaryen conquest when a month ago they started saying, oh, we're going to make things about those too. Then I'm going to get back to those, but I'll switch gears to immediately jump into the question came up again, how many seasons is this going to run? And of course then the other half-finished video series on behind-the-scenes crew, new and returning writers, directors, editors, and so forth. I'll make another schedule update video. Things are very stacked. This was a very big week. A lot of news came out of this filming, but having more news than I can report on after 4 months of inactivity is a problem I want to have.